Hello, everybody. I'm here to talk about wired versus wireless networks. How does a wireless network OSI model differ from a wired network? Uh, the wired network primarily uses a Wi Fi or a LAN network. The LAN network utilizes two functions from the OSI layer, which are the data link and physical layer. With the wireless networks, it functions off of seven layers of the OSI model. The seven layers are the application, the presentation, the session, the transport, network, data link, and physical. When you're looking at a wireless network versus a wired network, you're looking at no wires or you're looking at wires. Uh, Wireless networks tend to run on devices that are like laptops and things like that. Wired networks tend to utilize devices that are, um, like a computer with a hard drive, with a keyboard and a mouse pad. So these things are wired. It's impossible for this type of device to run on a wireless network, meaning they have cords and they need to be connected to uh, a modem. Wired networks are typically a little bit more affordable than wireless networks. The good thing about a wired network is you can have multiple PCs run on one router. So if you're running a business and if the business requires a fax machine, a phone line, a computer uh, for its configuration, you would be able to, have access to the LAN networks or the Wi-Fi networks using all of these types of devices that are wired, on the wired network. Uh, One thing to keep in mind is if you are running a business that has a very large call center, um, and if your call center is divided into, uh, 10 call centers across the United States, and each call center has 100 and associates running off of the call center. Depending upon your configuration of your wired network, you may be able to have one router per call center. Depending upon your wired configuration, you may be able to have four routers uh, at at each call center, which, let's say, depending on your configuration, if your router is able to handle 25 PCs plus all of the other devices per router, it just depends on the wired network and what the configurations are, what the needs of the businesses are. Um, but wireless networks, they tend to run a little bit different than the wired networks. So those are some of the benefits of having a wired network. Now the differences in how the wireless network OSI models differ from a wired network is the wired network is it utilizes applications where the signal is channeled through a physical medium. So the signal that's channeled through a physical medium, is protected and is guided through the wired network. With the wireless network, the wireless network requires the signal to be broadcast. So with the wireless network, the when the broadcast is transmitted, the wireless network can be easier to hack into since the streamline is broadcast and it needs to be broadcast. Since the streamline is broadcast, it needs to be transmitted. So the wireless network is easier to hack into than the wired network. Again, wired networks tend to be more secure and private. Here is the OSI model. So over here on the right, we have the OSI model. And then over here on the left, we have a different model. These are typically how the wired network is or functions. Typically, the wired network just uses two of the functions from the OSI model. Okay. Over here on the right-hand side, this is how the data is streamed when it's broadcast. So it breaks it down into 7 different layers. So in order for you to perform a function on your computer using a wireless network, and in order to complete the function without receiving error messages that will cause your computer to slow down, or or error messages that will make you shut down and restart everything. So with the wireless network, this is the stream that the data needs to flow through. It needs to flow through the application process. Once everything is a go and everything is secure, then it will perform the next function of going to the next layer. Once everything functions, then it will go to the next layer and perform the next function in the session layer, and so on and so on and so on and so forth. So, it is very important that, that our systems are protected and we have protocols or what have you, so that we can push system access to the next level or the next streamline of communication. With wireless networks, it has various security risks. Okay, so with the security risk, identity theft, compromised financial data, and then silently listening and watching individuals where there are cameras. So the thing to keep in mind is with wireless networks, the signal must be broadcast. Network terms are piggybacking, wireless sniffing, evil twin hacking, or evil twin attacks. Companies create policies and procedures to protect users from piggybacking, which is when the computers are left unlocked and unattended. Very dangerous, and it's very important that we are following proper policies and procedures every day. Security vulnerabilities that happen when the signal is broadcast with the wireless networks are passive monitoring, unauthorized access, and denial of service. With the physical layer, the vulnerabilities are in the physical layer and the data link layer. With the physical layer, the data is converted into bits, not logical data. So the interface, the procedural interfaces can be compromised. With the data link layer, it creates and transmits packets. So we want to make sure that the packets are not tampered and there are no errors in synchronization to the destinations. Uh, Security risk on a wired network versus wireless network versus wired and wireless networks are anytime encryption is not implemented. So the thing to keep in mind is hackers can retrieve information, but if the files are encrypted, you're not able to retrieve any information because it's encrypted. Sometimes it is almost impossible to prevent hacks from attacking systems, but encryption is one of the most important keys. How we can prevent security risk are wireless protocol analyzers, which need to be configured. The data frames need to be tested, and you just want to ensure that encryption is turned on for all of the data frames. It's almost impossible to not use the computer or any form of device, cell phones, anything like that. All we can do is, take the necessary steps to protect ourselves and, and just try to be safe, safely use the devices. Thank you very much for listening. My interpretation of wired versus wireless networks.